What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? How y'all doing? Another session with the RC9 interviews. We have a special guest coming our way. Slay in your lane. And we got a shout out to a Philly native, Tamara, will be joining us. So tell a friend and tell a friend and tell a friend. Come on in and let's have a good time. We're really going to chop it up today. So we're just waiting for her to get on up in the room. It should be an excellent time today. Hey, she at Slaying Your Lane. Here she go. Ooh, look at his punctuality up in here. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on?
What's up? I know I'm like probably different size, but I can't flip. I was say I can't flip my thing the way it's on my light stand. I'm old. Like I don't know.
Yo, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm gonna have to hold my phone the whole time. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, because my air conditioner is on, so I didn't know if you could hear me good enough.
Well, look, I would have turned my air conditioner, but my fan is on. But I'm about to do this interview like this.
I'm sorry. I can't flip it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's all right. See, look, you get the pass. You get the pass. This is gonna make for an interesting interview because when people check him, like, what is going on over here?
You don't need to see really what I look like. It's not necessary. All right, how about I do this?
How about? Yeah, that's right. Stay like that. Just like that.
I'm trying to figure out a way I can sit it up. I don't know how I can sit it up a different way because the way that the thing is this way. It's not this way. Like okay. on my light. So.
But you know what? This will be really interesting. Let's get to it. Ladies and gentlemen, RC9 Interviews proudly present the one and only Slay in Your Lanes in the building, Tamara.
Yo. What's up?
How you doing today?
Stop with the side of the head thing. Stop. I'm good. I'm well. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm just, just chilling over here. So, yo, it's great to have you here today. Thank you for joining us here on the RC9 Interviews. You know what? I'm gonna tell y'all something. I met her 2 years ago, in Philly at Philly Urban Fashion Weekend. Yep. And listen, let me tell you, one of Philly's finest out in these streets. You know what I'm saying? Out in these streets, get it in.
Wow.
In the modeling world and look, Black excellent world. Let's get to it. We got a lot to talk about. We're gonna have fun. Even sometimes I make need to rest my head like this, just to what I'm saying, just to get your point of view going across. But it's gonna be good. Before we get into it, just introduce yourself real quick. Let them know who you are. Give them a little background. We're gonna get right into it.
About what my background on what?
Yeah, so just let them know who you are. Just give them a little background about yourself, and we'll get right into it.
So my name is Tamara. I have been in the modeling scene since I was 16, so about 21 years now. Yes, I'm old. I was going to say, I have a son. He's 9. His name is Evan. I do print. I do runway. Not as much runway as I used to, but runway. And I work in health insurance. That's pretty much it.
That's she said that is my life. Like she wants something right to the point. Well, like I said, once again, thank you for joining us here today. We know we have a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on in this world. A lot of things, a lot of dynamics have changed as far as how people just conduct business nowadays, and just move in general. Listen, you are an inspiration to a lot of people quietly. You don't put yourself out there too much. I know. Look, I've been seeing you on the scene. You the TikTok queen out here. Look,
it's growing. It's growing.
That TikTok, I was like,
you know what's funny? Like with TikTok, I've known about TikTok for a minute, but like I wouldn't get on TikTok because I was just like, oh, it's like another app. I don't feel like downloading another app. So what happened was when quarantine happened or whatever, like in March. My son was like, Mom, I want to do a TikTok. And I'm like, all right. So I literally downloaded it for him. Mm-hmm. And it was a wrap because like people really started to like the stuff that he and I did and then what I did. And like since, what was it, April, I started and it's what, July now. I have like 18,000 followers.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it grew like really fast, really quick.
Wow. So, getting into the quarantine thing. So, everybody's all right in the family. Everything's good.
Yeah, everybody's good. I do know a few people that had it. Of course, they all recovered. I know people through other people who had it. Some, passed away. Some were hospitalized.
Wow.
But everyone in my particular circle or family is good, and everyone's been healthy. So I'm just grateful for that.
Wow. Wow. That's good that, and people in your camp are good, because it's a lot of, I've been hearing a lot of stories out here. And a lot of people like really struggling out here with loved ones catching out. I've been hearing a lot of stories of people overcoming and who had it.
Yeah.
And all we could do was continue to, stay prayed up and, wish for the best for everybody out there. That's
one thing I want to say about people that's recovering, though. What people don't understand is people do recover, but their lungs are never the same way. Right. So it's a lot of damage even after they come from the recovery stage, where their lungs are not properly working like they were before. So I still want people to understand, like even though there's a lot of people recovering, there's a lot of people that are still having maybe not full capacity of their lungs. They're on oxygen. Like, it's just different things. So yeah, people are overcoming, but it's a lot of damage in the long run to their lungs. So just keep that in mind. Wow,
and that's something you don't even hear about it. This is the first time I'm hearing anything about that.
Yep.
They're saying there's some long-term, effects to their health after life. After
yeah, I know two people in particular who were hospitalized. They were toying around with that like malaria drug with them, but they still don't have like full capacity of what they had before of their lung function. So a lot of people don't talk about that part of it, but it does happen to some people.
Wow. That's actually something for me, to look into, after this interview, because this is actually honestly the first time I'm actually hearing things about that, which is unfortunate. The fortunate thing is that they're alive.
Right.
And hopefully there's some things that they could do to build up and make their lungs stronger in long term. But now you're all right. How have you been coping with this? I know you have a son. You said your son is how old?
He's 9.
He's 9 years old. So
yeah, it's been rough. Like when he was in school and the Chromebooks and all of that, like it was rough because he's home. So I'm on my computer. He's right next to me on his computer. And you got to constantly say, hey, sit up. Hey, turn your camera around. Just stuff like that. I can't do the homeschool thing. It was a lot.
Right.
It was a lot for me. Even though, I'm not physically doing the homework with him or the schoolwork. It was just a lot to just make sure he's in class on time.
Right.
He's sitting up. He's paying attention. And I'm trying to do my own stuff. So it was a lot. It was a lot.
Wow. So that
I definitely applaud teachers.
Right. So like that whole transition for you, like what was the most challenging for you in making that transition? Now he's home, like your whole life changed. Like were you still able to work from home, or were you doing?
Yeah, so I was one of the lucky ones. We had been working from home since I think the first numbers started going up like early March. I've been home since like March 7th or something along those lines. My company played no games. They were like, no, we need you guys home, and we'll give you updates every couple weeks. So that's what they do. Every couple weeks they give us updates of how they feel, as though if it's safe, if it's not safe. To be perfectly honest, I don't think I'm going back at all this year.
Really?
Just based on, again, I work in a health insurance company. I don't want to say which one, but we have medical doctors on staff and things like that, and they trust them more than they trust government and even the state, the governor. So, they follow pretty much their lead and how they feel it would be good enough for people to kind of go or not to go. And people also have to consider with companies, I know a lot of people were like reopening too early, but the thing was, especially with my company, they don't think about childcare. So a lot of people don't have childcare. Camps are not open.
Right.
So how can you get people in? They potentially have to bring their kids in. Nobody wants to do that. Public transportation. Some people that were catching public transportation don't want to do it now. Now they have to drive, and it's more for parking, not enough parking spots now in the garage. And so it was like a lot of different factors as to why they didn't want to reopen so quickly. So again, I got adjusted pretty quickly. I don't mind having to not go in the office. I don't mind it at all. But it just made things a little different. but we still do our meetings as normal.
Okay.
You still have Zoom. There's other avenues. I mean, technology is crazy. You know, you still can do the full function of your job without having to physically, you know, be in someone's face. And I don't mind it at all. I said, if I never have to go back,
I'm fine with that. How did your son adjust to it? You know, usually you used to be around friends and school and everything, and now all of a sudden you're home with mom.
Yeah. So my son, he doesn't have. He has a lot of friends at school. I'm not going to say that he does have a lot of friends at school, but it's so funny. I always tell the story how he was on his Zoom call and he goes, and one of the little girls in his class goes, "Evan, if you have a choice to, you know, come back to school and be with all your friends or stay home, what would you do?" And he was like, "I would stay home until I see Jesus."
Are you serious?
Yes. Like, my son is a comedian, so I was just like, what? And I just like bust out laughing in the middle of his Zoom call. And I'm like, why would you say that? And he's like, because I mean it. I don't ever want to go back and see them.
Wow. Really?
So he was
completely
fine with staying home because he didn't have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
He didn't have to truck all the way into school. I mean, he didn't have to do aftercare and wait for me to get off. So it was like, I get to stay home with mommy. Only have to be on class for 2 hours. Like, he's been fine with the whole situation.
Wow. So the adjustment for you guys in your camp has been pretty smooth.
Yeah, I haven't had too many issues. I mean, he does want to see like his godbrother and things like that. So it's like, you know, I'm kind of hesitant because he has asthma. So I don't want to bring him into environments where I don't know what's going on in someone else's house. Because again, you want to have fun, you want to play, but you have asthma. You're susceptible even more so than anyone else in this situation. So it's kind of like that part has been hard because he wants to see like his cousins or his godbrothers, and I'm like, no, nah, you gotta wait. So that part is hard. But school and friends at school, he doesn't. He can care less.
Well, that's good. So even with everything that's going on, with, you know, I'm quite sure he understands what's going on. You know, he seems to be a very intelligent a young boy. What did you have to do to prepare him for the transition, and even what's going on now with the Black Lives Matter movement, and you know all the things going on? A lot of parents having a hard time to really explain to their kids the dynamics was going on.
Right. So for me, as far as the transition with COVID and him, just explain to him, hey, you know, it's a virus. He's had viruses before. You know, hey, this is a virus. It's not a virus that we're familiar with. They really don't know the ins and outs of it. But you just make sure you keep practicing, you know, hand washing. Make sure you always have your inhaler on you, you know, different things like that. That part was fine. Now, when it transitioned into all the Black Lives Matter, the rioting, the looting, I did have a situation where right up the street from me, they looted. And it was pretty bad. I live like up near 77th and City Line Avenue. And that plaza up there was looted really, really bad.
Really?
Yeah. And at the time, we were watching the news as it was happening up the street from us. And I know some neighbors were outside going, what the heck is going on? Like, that's not normally our neighborhood dynamic. Like, this is kind of weird. What's going on? And my son was freaking out. And he was like, I want to call my dad. And I'm like, well, I'm like, calm down. It's okay. He's like, are they going to come down here? And I'm like, they're not going to come down here. We're a couple blocks away from it. But I'm like, they're not going to come down here. He was so fearful that whatever was going on was going to end up on our block or at our house. And his father had just left the plaza. That was the other thing. His father had just left the plaza. I'm getting like a water ice. And he was fearful for his father because he said, I don't know if he's still up there. And I don't know if the cops are up there and they're going to do something to him. So it was very difficult that day to try to explain to him, like, hey, you know, as a Black male, yeah, you're a kid, but you can't operate as a kid.
Right.
It's very difficult conversations I've had with him, and it's very emotional for me because I don't want him to end up as a hashtag. I don't want any Black male, any Black female, any Black child. That's like one of my worst fears, that someone I know ends up as a hashtag. As even me, I end up as a hashtag. That's like one of my worst fears. And I had to have a real conversation with him. I said, there are people in this world that just won't like you because of the color of your skin. Right. That's the reality of it. And he's such a happy kid. And you've met him. He's such an outgoing, happy kid. And I don't want him to lose that, but I want him to be aware of his surroundings and aware that he can't really do other things that he may see other kids do because he might be perceived different. So it's just kind of trying to teach him and give him the understanding. He still doesn't fully understand.
Right.
He understands that people may not like him for the color of his skin, but he doesn't understand that he has to operate and move a little differently.
Right.
As a kid.
So that's how you help manage his, I guess, quote unquote, his anxiety or his stress, by just continuing to inform him and be there for him as a parent, as a mother, let him know, like, this is what's going on, you know, get him at his level to where, like, he's not all over the place, because a lot of, you know, it seems like a lot of kids are really coming home crying, like, Mommy, why are they killing us for the color of our skin? What's going on? Like, they're really fearful out here. It's striking fear in our kids in alarming numbers. So how you handle this, it seemed to be, like, effective.
Yeah.
You know, he hasn't had any issues, like, even in the past, we've always happened with any kind of anxiety, anything like that. He just, like,
no, I mean, he's a pretty scary kid, I would say. I mean, I'm very scary. He takes that from me as well. Like, I'm very, like, cautious and aware. And if something doesn't feel right with me, a lot of times, I'm like, okay, I'm out. You know, even if it doesn't happen or anything, I'm always really good at that. Like, such situations, like, okay, something is wrong, something's off. And he's like that too. Like, he'll be in a situation and he's like, yeah, I don't know, I think I'm gonna walk away. So he's good when it comes to that. But he but with the whole, you know, police brutality, black lives, he doesn't, only time he had anxiety was that one time because of the looting and the rioting. Other than that, he hasn't really, I mean, he's never experienced racism. I mean, I have, his dad has, many other people he's been around has, but he hasn't physically experienced that, thank God, because I know some people, even my ex-husband, as young as 7, he remembers someone calling him the N-word. Like,
wow.
Exactly. So, I mean, my son has not been around that, has experienced that, thank God. But again, his anxiety really in the whole couple months was just that one time. Wow. Anything else, no. And he's not even in the past.
Wow. So even talking about that, you know, being younger and, you know, having a kid, and he's 9 years old, you and his father are not together now, right?
No. Me and his father were married for like 7 years, but.
Okay. Okay. So now, you know, and I know personally that, you know, he's active in Evan's life, and you guys work together, co-parenting. How important is that for, you know, Evan being a young black male and having a black man's father in his life? You know, opposed to if he wasn't in your life, do you see the positive impacts on him being there, especially what's going on now? Oh, and what things is his father doing to help him cope with what's going on?
Yeah, so his dad reinforces the same things that I say. Like, me and his dad do have a lot of conversations where we try to make sure we're on the same page and not saying different things and giving him different, you know what I mean, different ideologies and things like that. So we do try to make sure beforehand, before we talk to him about anything, especially when it happened with this, like, him and his dad he and his dad, we had a conversation and we were like, okay, this is kind of how we're going to approach it so that he knows that both parents are on the same page. Nice. But his dad is like everything to him. I always make a joke like he likes his dad more than me because I'm more the disciplinarian. His dad's a disciplinarian, but you know, it's a little different. Okay. So, you know, his dad is very, very active. And it's funny because I'll have conversations and I might say something. He goes, well, my dad said, and I'm like, Evan, this is what I said. And it's like he listens to his dad so much and he watches him. He pays attention to every little thing. So I always say to his dad, just be mindful of that because he really pays attention. He listens to every little thing you say. Wow. And just, you know, be that example as he always has been. But even if his dad wasn't there, Evan still has a good community around him. I have a brother. He has uncles. You know, he has older male cousins. So he always still has some type of influence. But his dad does a really, really good job of explaining even everything that's going on today. He doesn't show him videos. I don't show him videos. I know my kids are not equipped for anything like that. So I don't show him the videos, but I just make him aware, as well as his dad makes him aware these things are happening. So just
that's really good. How do you that's really great that you guys are able to really come together and be on one accord, even though you guys are not together. I know there may be some, you know, people who will view this that are no longer with their kid's father, or, you know, like in instance, ex-husband, whatever have you. How did you guys come together to actually co-parent, to really be eye to eye on one accord, even though you guys didn't make it in a relationship? How was there initially, was there any turmoil, or was you guys able to make that smooth transition to work as a unit?
You know what's funny? I've known his father we were married for 7 years, but I've known him for 15. So the funny thing about it is when we were going through our divorce process, Evan was very young. He was only, well, he's 9 now. He was about 4 or 5. I've been divorced about 4 years now. So I think that helped also because he was younger and he didn't really understand.
Okay.
But one thing I said to his father when we were going through our divorce process, and it was very quick, like within a couple months, we were done.
Wow.
I said, as long as you do what you're supposed to do for Evan, you will never have an issue with me. And that's kind of how I've always been. As long as you do what you're supposed to do, as long as you know, we make this, and we made our own agreements. We never did child custody and we never did any of that. We worked out our own thing. And we followed that plan for the last 4 years. He spends half of his time with me, half his time with his dad. So it was never an issue. But I always stressed to him, as long as we keep Evan at the center, me and you have nothing to really discuss.
Right.
If it has nothing to do with Evan, me and you should not be talking about, you know, people, others' relationships or what's going on with that person's family. Like, that's not necessary unless you want to bring me into that.
Right.
But other than that, if it's not about Evan, we don't have anything to discuss or talk about. And he's never crossed that boundary with me. I've never crossed that boundary with him. And it's been really smooth sailing. And another thing I kind of said to him when we divorced, I said, you have to be responsible for your own happiness. And I tell people this all the time, whether you're married or you're in a relationship or whatever. I mean, my goal was not to have my marriage end, but things happen. But you have to be, you know, honest with yourself and know that you have to be responsible for your own happiness, because there's no point in me being miserable, because guess what? Then it trickles on down to my child. I don't want him miserable because he sees me miserable. And I kind of put that out there to him, and he's like, you're absolutely right. Because he kept fighting it, saying, oh man, I don't really think, you know, we should divorce or we should do this and that. And I'm like, but I think we should, because we know we're both unhappy. And he eventually got it when I was like, you got to be responsible for your own happiness, dude.
Wow.
Like,
So,
right.
So how did you get to the point where you made the decision, like if he said, no, I don't think we should do this, but you was like, okay, I think we should do this because we know we both unhappy. What got you to the point to is, you know what, this needs to happen. We need to do this. What was that moment?
It was a mix of just different, you know, things over the years, and you kind of just have to lay it out. Like, you know, this situation happened. Yeah, we went through counseling multiple times. It didn't work. And I'm not saying it doesn't work for other people, because I know a lot of people that go through counseling for different things. But individually, we also needed our own counseling to work through issues we were dealing with by ourselves. So, and I mean, this is years before we even met each other. There's a lot of things that are going on. So we kind of just talked about all of that and was like, you know, I don't think this is right for us. And the funny thing is, I feel like we're both in a better position now, ever since the divorce. I know that sounds crazy, but I feel like we have both prospered, like in our careers, in our lives, not actually physically being together. And I'm fine with that. He's fine with that. Like I said, I don't have any issues. We don't have any issues. We don't at all. And I think people always expect divorce to be messy and bad, and what they see on TV, it's not always like that in every situation, because it takes a mature person. You have to know who you're dealing with,
right?
In order to know if it's going to work that way.
Right. So. And I think the fact that you guys were together for such a long time, even, you know, before Evan came along, I guess you guys knew each other. So you knew him. I said you guys knew each other. Yeah. On a deeper level, you know, some people get together and they have kids, and maybe a year or two later, you know, they have a kid. They really don't know each other. But since y'all had that history, you knew what you were dealing with. He knew what you were dealing with. He knew your temperament, and you know his temperament, and y'all were able to, you know, take that and move on, you know, as adults and do the right thing for the you know, for the betterment and for the, you know, benefit of everybody. Actually, actually, somebody just had a question here. This Level 81 says, do you feel like you should have a talk with your child explaining why mommy and daddy are not together? This was my struggle, if I should tell them why. Yeah, so I definitely had a conversation with Evan when he was a little bit older. And it's funny, like, I feel like every kid is different, because even when I talk about it to him, he always had a understanding, hey, mommy's in mommy house, daddy's in daddy house. And he's never brought it back up. He's always just known, okay, yeah, we were together at one point. Like, he remembers certain things. Oh, I remember this house that we were in, or I remember this. But he's never been like angry or upset. And again, that comes with good co-parenting, because I don't mention things in front of him about his father that I might be upset with at times.
his dad doesn't do the same with me. So the thing is, when I told him, or when he finally realized, I really didn't have a full conversation with him. It's just he finally realized, hey, we're not in the same house. He's just like, oh, okay, mommy's in mommy's house, daddy's in daddy's house. When am I going to daddy's house? And he knows his schedule. He's on point with his schedule for the last 4 years. He knows when Wednesday through Sunday comes around, I'm with my dad. Like, he has no problem, no issue. And again, I think it kind of helped because he was a little younger and he didn't fully understand. But once he did understand, it never was an issue. As long as he got to see both parents, he was completely fine. And it's been fine.
Wow, that's amazing. It's really good to hear that, you guys are able to work things out. Like, I'm quite sure, everybody has heard of horror stories with baby mamas, baby daddies, and things of that nature. And your situation doesn't seem like the typical situation, unfortunately, for our community, especially the Black community. It just seems like, it's a lot of turmoil and chaos, a lot of bitterness, resentment, and a lot of tug of war, the court systems, the child support, the this and that, back and forth. So what would you say to those, like, say, mothers who are just recently separated from their kid's father, how to properly deal with it? I know they heard some of your tips, and who may not have the role that you have had to understand with their father. What do you I know, because it takes two, so it's kind of hard. It takes two.
It takes two, but you have to know who you're dealing with. And I say that only because if the other person is not mature enough to respect that you want to move on, it's not going to work. Like, I've seen people where one person is ready to move on, but the other person is holding on to that person because they don't want to let them go. And that's what's causing a lot of the strife, because one person doesn't want to let the other person go, and the other person's like, listen, let me go. So, the thing with me and his dad was, I never put his dad on child support. Again, we worked it out amongst ourselves because we were like, listen, I don't want to put that man in the court, like, have that in his record. Like, I don't want to do that to him, because believe it or not, when people are on child support, that follows them from job to job to job, and they look at all that stuff. I don't want that for him. You know what I mean? I don't want him on child support. Just do what you need to do. Right. And he's always done that. And I think in his mind also, though, he's very mature, but in his mind, he's like, listen, my father wasn't there for me. I'm going to break my neck and my back to make sure that I'm there for my son, and I need to do what I need to do. Right. So again, honestly, a lot of it has to deal with knowing the person that you're dealing with. I know someone right now going through a divorce, and she's going through hell and high water with her divorce in the custody, because her child's father is being petty about everything. And I'm like, was he like this before? And she's like, oh, I've seen little flags. I'm like, see, that's the thing. You got to know who you're dealing with, because not everyone's ready for that mature conversation, or to, be mature about the child. Right.
Wow. So now the way you handle these, as far as, did you grow up with your parents, your mother and father?
No. So I've always lived with my mom. I've always known who my dad is. My dad is like a stalker. I was going to say, like, they've never been together or lived in the same house. I've always lived with my mom, but my dad used to come and get me and stuff like that. And I always say my dad is a stalker because he literally calls me all the time, leaves messages as if he's my boyfriend, like stalking me. So I mean, my dad's always been in my life, but people ask me all the time, like, oh, would you want your parents to be together? And I was like, no. And they're like, really? And I'm like, no. And they're like, that's crazy. I'm like, absolutely not crazy. If you know their personalities, I've never wanted them to be together. And I've always been fine. I've always known my dad. I've always been around his family. He's always taken me. And I think that's the key. As long as both parents are involved and both families are involved, I really don't see why there should always be a headache or a turmoil. I just always keep the kid at the center of it.
Right. So, and the reason why I asked that question is because I want to know the way you handle your divorce and the way you handle, parenting and co-parenting Evan. I was wondering if there was something that influenced you growing up, seeing from your mom and dad, that allowed you to, be where you are now.
No, not really. I mean, when it came down to it, we just really wanted to make sure what was best for Evan, and making sure that he still got to see both families, and that everything he needed, from school to activities to whatever, that those needs were met. And that's kind of all it was.
Wow. That's great. So now, going back to activities, so you guys are great. And all of this, I'm so glad that you actually put this out here, because we don't hear stories like these and how to handle things and how, you know, both parties need to be responsible and just be adults and just co-parent. Hey, we may not have worked together, but let's do this for the sake of the kid. Let's keep the kid at the core of this, and put our differences aside, whatever they may be.
Right.
What I want to talk about now, so we can go back to this model. You know, we talked about your mom life. Let's talk about your model life, because you said you've been modeling for how long?
Since I was 16. So I started with a company. I don't even know if it's still around, but it's called John Robert Powers.
Okay.
They're like on Walnut Street. I forget what 100, but when I was like 16, it was one summer. My mom was like sick of me being a tomboy, because I was like a big tomboy, and she was like, "You don't know how to dress. You don't know how, like, what are you? You can't coordinate anything together." And she was like, "I think I'm going to put you in this thing called John Robert Powers. It's like a finishing school, like a modeling school." And I was just like, "For what?" And she's like, "Well, I've seen you imitate Naomi, and you do like these runway walks. Like, you can do it." And I'm like, "Okay." So I went for one summer. It was a full summer. It was like a program. They taught you makeup. They taught you runway. They taught you photos, print. And then at the very end, they had like this big like program where you could win a scholarship through them. I didn't win the scholarship, but my family actually got to see like the transformation, and they were like, "Wow, like you really could do something."
Right.
And you know, I went through school, I went through college. I didn't really do any modeling during that whole high school college career. And then I got out of college, and this woman had like a clothing line, and my aunt referred me to her, and she was like, "Hey, can you model for me?" And I'm like, "All right." I wound up doing print ads for her, like runway shows.
Wow.
And that was at 23, like 23, 24.
What did you go to high school at?
Bodine High School, International Affairs, North Philly.
Okay, in North Philly. And college?
Eastern University.
What you study over there?
I did biokinetics. So it's like
so there was nothing nowhere near the fashion world. No.
Yeah. So I mean, and then even from there, like I got married, and then I had Evan, and I was out of the modeling scene for like 10 years though. So when I came back, 10, 15 years. So when I came back, well, not 10, 15 years, but I was out of the scene from like 24 to like 34. And when I came back at 34, I was like, wait a minute, is this what modeling in Philly? Like, I had no clue. Like, it was, I didn't know about shows. I didn't know about print work. Like, I knew nothing. And I was just like, what is this? And a friend of mine was doing a show, and he's like, "Tamara, I want you to help out for the show." That's what he said. And I came to a casting. He said, "Well, let me just see you walk real quick." I walked, and he was like, "You're no longer helping on the show. You're in the show." And that was in 2016. And it's been a wrap since. I've been doing it since. Wow.
So doing that, once you found out you had a niche for it, and this was like an actual thing that you could really be a part of. How was the whole? I know you just explained to her how you got back into it. Well, how was the whole just being the model? Getting older now. Kid. Just life is different. So you're an older model now. Like, how has that been in competing with the younger models?
So it's funny because most people don't realize that I'm 37. Like, and it's funny because I'll say it to someone, and because we modeled together. And
right.
You got kids that's 10, 15 years younger than us, and you're like, they're looking at you like, "Oh, so what college are you going to?" And it's like, what? I'm grown.
College.
So, I mean, I noticed that a lot of places don't ask you for your age, which is like great. When I was modeling before, that was like one of the things that they would ask me to audition. How old are you?
Right.
They don't really ask that. Even when I go to New York Fashion Week, that's not a question. They don't really care. If you can walk, if you can, look good in the clothes, that's all they care about. So I noticed that change where they don't ask really about your age. They look more so for your resume. Have you walked in any other New York Fashion Week shows? Have you walked in any other Philly shows? Who have you walked for? Who have you modeled for? And if you can just do it, they don't really care. Whereas when I was younger, I felt like they wanted to see how old you are for longevity reasons. And even back then, like years and years ago, when I was younger, I tried out for Top Model. Okay. And I remember I didn't make it. And I think the last time I tried out, I was like 22. Okay. And I was like, oh, well, I give up because I know they don't want you after 25 in the field. They don't want you after 25, 26, so they don't think you have longevity. Fast forward to me at 34, I applied when she took the age limit off. And guess what?
What?
I got all the way to a Skype interview. I've never talked about this. I got to a Skype interview with a casting director for Top Model.
Okay.
I went through the Skype interview. They were really interested in me, but I did not do it because I did not like some of the questions and how they were twisting the questions. See, most people don't realize it's still a show at the end of the day. So whatever you put in your application, they're going to ask you about it.
Right.
But then they're going to put their spin on it. So tell me how, because I'll give you an example. I said, you know, I used to be married. I'm divorced. That perked their ears. Oh, so tell me how your ex-husband held you back from modeling. I said, I never said that.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's things like that. So as we went through the interview, I realized
they trying to build up a story for the highlights and everything.
So I was like, you know what? This is not for me because I don't want my family or my ex-husband saying, why would you say that? That's not, you know, that's not what I said or that's not what I did. And I realized, you know what? There's other avenues for me for modeling. Top Model is not going to be my avenue. But I was proud of myself for getting to that point, though. Because I never made it that far before at 34.
Wow, that's a big accomplishment. You know, just for us in general as a people being black and moving in that industry at that age, that's an accomplishment in itself. And that leads me to my next question. What I want to ask you, when you got back into modeling and start, you know, getting it going. Did you have any particular vision in mind for modeling? Because, you know, you see a lot of people that do a lot of different shows, you know, no matter where it is, they do a lot of different shoots. Did you have any set vision or goal for modeling?
Yeah. So when I first kind of got back into it, again, I stumbled back into it. When I realized how the first show went, and then someone at that show saw me for their show and was like, hey, I want you to come out for this show. So I started, my focus at that moment in like 2016, 2017 was to just get my name and face out there in Philly. Like that was the goal. I just want to be, when I go to auditions, I want people to say, oh, I remember her from this show. I remember her. Like I wanted to be remembered and noticed.
Okay.
Once I kind of did the Philly scene, because I don't do any shows in Philly anymore. But once I felt in my own self that I was kind of known by different photographers, models, you know, production, that they knew who I was, then it was like, all right, now I want to focus on getting connections with designers where I can be on their websites or I can be published. 2018, I was published for a designer I modeled for. Her name was Kajoe. She's an Ankara African. She's from the Ivory Coast. I modeled for her. I'm all over her website. I'm published in Bloom magazine, Full Bloom magazine. She was my first publication. After that, I said, okay, I need to now figure out how I can get on more websites or do something bigger. So Visit Philly found me. I don't know how, but they found me and asked me to do a campaign. Not a campaign, but do a photo shoot. Me and my son. Me and my son are on the Visit Philly website.
Okay.
I'm also, I wound up getting on a billboard that was in New Jersey for Visit Philly.
Right.
And it was just like, okay, now what's the next goal after that? So every piece since 2016 till now, it was like, okay, get my name noticed in Philly, get my face noticed. Okay, cool. Get with a designer or a brand and, you know, be published. Get on a billboard. My next goal, I want to be published even more, but I want to be known a little more in like New York. There are some designers who do New York Fashion Week that do reach out to me directly. Hey, are you available? Can you come? Right. But I want to get my name kind of and face out there more in other states.
Right. Now in all your pursuits and, you know, as you wanted to, you know, you see the market and you see what areas you wanted to go in. Did you ever want to like quit your day job and do this full time? Do you think this would be an avenue to like, you know, I could do this full time? Like,
absolutely. I say that all the time. Now I do get paid from all of the Visit Philly and the young lady I do model for now. I get paid, but it's not enough to supplement my current income. So, I mean, I do have those days where I'm like, dang, I wish I could just quit and focus on this full time. Even with the TikTok, it's funny because like I have 18,000 followers, but of course, the more followers you get, the more you're considered like an influencer. So I'm like, if I get to a point where I'm getting, you know, deals or whatever, I will quit my job in a second.
Right.
You know, my job is not really, I mean, my job is not what I consider my career. It's just something that pays the bills. If I had to do it, I would prefer to model full time. But I know right now I can't do it because I don't have, it doesn't supplement my full income.
Right, at this time, she said, but once that door opens, she said, I'm out of here.
Once the door opens, people laugh at me like, you be doing these TikToks? I'm like, y'all don't understand. Like, you can make money once you get to a certain point.
Right.
And that's what I'm trying to get to that point if I can.
Wow. So even you said you're what, 37 now?
37, yeah.
37 now. So even at this age, what is your fuel to continue to be driven, like doing things like TikTok? You know, there's a lot of younger people do. I see, you know, people our age doing TikTok too. But you know, you would think there's more for younger. What drives you to keep pressing and trying new things and keep you fired? What fuels that hope?
So what drives me is my son, because ultimately I want to make sure he doesn't have to struggle or do, you know, not say that he doesn't have to work, but I know how it's like a struggle it was for me growing up to do certain things, to get certain places and do certain things. So it's like, I do it literally for him because I want to set him up to a point where he doesn't have to really rely on other things to get him other places. If that makes sense. If that makes sense.
Right.
So, you know, I do a lot of, I model, I do the TikTok thing. I also, I have an event planning business that I do.
Wow.
I have multiple avenues that I do, that I try to collect income and, you know, put money aside for him for different things for when he's older, because I don't want him to have to, quote unquote, struggle in any kind of way. And so that's really what my drive and my force is, because even with him, like, he was signed to a modeling agency when he was little. That agency dispersed and he, you know, was no longer with it. But even you see him in some of my TikToks. I know people are like, I think you should get him into acting. Who knows if acting might lead him into something where he can help me out in the future. You know what I mean? So it's like, a lot of my motivation is him. Because I want him to be set and be straight. Okay.
So that's a good motivating factor. It's something I want to touch before we go forward with the different streams you have going on. With modeling, I want your take on the modeling as a Black woman, just as a woman. How tall are you?
I am 5'8".
5'8". So how do you feel about models, especially females in particular, who are not 5'8", who are maybe under the status quo, who maybe, you know, is considered plus size or too short or too whatever? How do you feel about, you know, them give the playing field being leveled for them and them not having the same opportunities as you?
Yeah, I mean, it's still a work in progress. However, I will say, when I do a lot of New York shows, it's a lot more diverse, I notice. Philly, not so much, depending on the show. And I'm not going to point out particular shows or particular people. But I feel like when I go other places to model, they're a little bit more open to the 5'2" or 5'3" models. I know a model in particular. Her name is Morbid Beauty. I don't know if you know who she is. I think you've seen her maybe in some of Teddy shows and things like that. Incredible. When I say I think she's like 5'2", 5'3", incredible. Print work, runway killer, does not matter. She kills everything she touches. I know tons of plus size models that have like Lane Bryant campaigns. And I mean, it does not matter. If you can do the work, and you have great personality, that's the other thing. You can't be shy and not want to network and things like that. If you have the personality, you have the walk, you have the look, you can sell it, why not? And like I said, New York and other places are way more open. I feel like sometimes in Philly, they get stuck in this thing, and it's like, you got to open your mind a little bit.
And is that one of the reasons why you prefer not to do any more shows in Philly versus?
I kind of stopped doing shows in Philly for a couple of reasons. I stopped doing shows in Philly because, number one, I was seeing a lot of the same models at every single audition. So it was like, okay, it's the same people, and you kind of know at the auditions, okay, that person's going to get picked automatically. That person's going to get picked. I also stopped doing shows because, or doing auditions because I started noticing it was a popularity thing. And it was just like, okay, I know you're only picking that person because they have this many followers. I don't have a lot of followers on either one of my Instagram pages, but I do good work. I have good work. It just is what it is. And then also, you know, a lot of the productions that I was noticing aren't really organized. So it was like those three factors: the popularity, the seeing the same people, and then also and also it's a lot of the same designers that do the same shows. That's the other thing. So it's like, you know, if I want to get
stuck in this box.
Yeah, if I want to get my name out there in the U.S., like I can't just be confined to the same things in Philly. Like I need to expand myself. So that's why I said I don't physically do shows in Philly, but I do help with productions because I do want to make sure any production I'm a part of, and I've been a part of 2, that they are solid and they are tight, and that both of them have been. But I will help behind the scenes. I don't want to make it seem like I'm not. I want to feel like, oh, I'm above Philly. It's not that.
Right.
I'd rather be behind the scenes, making sure production is tight and it's good. But I don't physically feel like I need to be in a production anymore because I know most of the photographers that are there. I know most of the designers that are there. I know most of the models that are there.
Right.
So I feel like I can lend my help somewhere else. Honestly.
Wow. So as having this experience you have, so as a model and do you feel like you're a mentor to a lot of younger models, or you
know it's funny because I've had people inbox me that say, T, like you really inspired me, and I'm like, what? And they're like, no, like you literally are never involved in any drama in the Philly model scene. Like you literally, when you come, you're always ready to work. Like you offer suggestions, and it's not necessarily criticism. Like you do it in a loving way. They were like, you know, you're a mom. Like you still look bomb. Like you like. So it's like I get those, not a lot, but I do have people that inbox me, and it's always interesting when I hear that because I'm like, really? Like me? I don't look at myself that way. Like if I'm trying to help somebody with something, like I'm really trying to help them. I'm not trying to do it to be rude or criticize them. And it's all about how you say things to people and also how you interact with people. If I come into an audition and automatically I'm like, what was the point of that? And I come to some auditions where I'm like, wow, like this is interesting, but I'm never going to be like showing it on my face. I'm never going to do that. I'm always going to engage with everybody because it's all about networking and personality and, you know, making sure everybody's comfortable. You know, you never know if that's someone's first audition. You never know.
You're right. You could deter them and be like, you know what, I ain't doing this. It's not for me.
And I've had a model say that to me before where they've been to auditions and they're like, I didn't like the atmosphere. I felt like people was laughing at me, or I didn't like, and it's like, that shouldn't be if that's your first time. That shouldn't be your view of how it is everywhere. It's not.
Wow. So, and that's a key thing. A lot of people, you know, try to do things to come out of their shell and wind up getting kicked back in their shell because of, you know, the insensitivity to certain people's feelings and just respect. It's the respecting at the end of the day. So tell me, I know your Instagram name is Slay in Your Lane. How did you come up with that name, and what does that name mean to you?
So, you know what's funny about that name? I don't know if you remember, but we did the Philly Urban Fashion Weekend. I think it was like a couple of years ago. Dante, who's the producer on the show, he said that in a rehearsal, like, y'all better slay in your lane. And I was like, I love that. He doesn't even remember that he says that. And I said that to him one day, like, yeah, like, you remember he was like, I don't remember that. And it was like so perfect because I really live by that. Like everyone has their own way of, they all have their own walk. They all have their own way of doing print. They all have, you know, everyone's unique and everyone is different. You can still slay. You may not slay like I feel like I'm slaying, but that doesn't mean you're not slaying. So slay in your lane. Wow.
That's good. And that just sounds like a whole, like, you could start a mentorship, model mentorship program, slay your lane.
You know what's funny? I was supposed to start a modeling program last summer, and it didn't get off the ground. Like, I was going to do girls between, like, 10 and 17. It didn't get off the ground because I couldn't get enough participation, but that was the modeling program. That was the name. It was going to bring in kids, and at the end, I was going to have, like, a end of the year, like, you know, fashion show for them to showcase everything that they learned over the 8-week course. And I had designers on board. I had board of photographers on board, and everyone was willing to help for free, which was, and that speaks volumes because I have a good relationship with these people and they trust me, knew I was going to do well by these kids. But yeah, I have thought about that. I wanted to bring it back even this year, but COVID, different things, it just didn't work out. But I still want to do it in the future.
Wow. So now you pretty much, you slaying in your lane on that TikTok.
Yeah.
What is your TikTok handle for those who want to check you out and follow you?
So my TikTok handle is the same as my Instagram. It's Slay in Your Lane. So if you want to follow me, I'm funny. I promise y'all. I'm real funny.
I could vouch for it. The skits I'll be seeing. Well, how much time goes into you preparing for a TikTok? Because it looks like you put in some detail.
Listen,
I mean, it's very thought out. You get your son involved.
Listen, so it's a lot to do with TikTok, depending on which sound you choose. So, like I know recently, like I did the Coming to America one. I don't know if you saw that one.
Right, I saw that.
But it takes a lot of time because you have to first of all make sure you have all the outfits, and then you're changing in between outfits. So that could take a long time depending on how many characters you have. Also to make sure the lighting is right. Then you have to position the camera in different ways.
Right.
So it can take a long time. And then I'm not doing just one a night. I'm doing multiple. So you're talking about a 3 to 4 hour span sometimes that I'm doing maybe
It's
4 or
just a
5
whole
TikToks.
production. You got a whole production going on.
You
come out this quarantine with some skills that you ain't ever had before that had to utilize.
And the thing is,
production, lighting, setup, costume.
Even with the sounds, like my son does some of them, but of course he's not. They talk too fast sometimes for him, so it takes repetition. So a lot of times I'm recording him over and over again, and we're both trying to get the facial expressions, or should I do my hand motion this way, Mom, or should I not? Like, so it's a lot.
Wow, it seems like a lot, but you're definitely doing your thing, and I hope like it brings in the revenue that you so well you deserve. Because I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, this is really good here. I mean, you should have easily like 10,000, 5,000, followers or likes on them jokers. But you're doing your thing over there. With everything else going on, what do you expect? Like I know the school year is getting ready to, well, summer just started, but school year soon, September to start back up again. How do you feel things are going to go with yourself, with your son? You think it's going to open back up? How you going to prepare for the new wave?
I don't, because people don't know how to stay in the house or wear their masks. So I don't believe that we will get back to normal in September. Even though they're trying to map out a school plan, I'm kind of hesitant about sending my son back based on the recommendations that they have currently. I don't think it's going to work. And like I said, my son has asthma, so I'm kind of a little leery about that. As far as my job, I don't think we're going back like I mentioned earlier. I think we probably won't go back to 2021 until they can get a good handle on it. And I know everyone has their opinions about, the pandemic and if it's a hoax, if it's not a hoax.
Right.
I'm not here to debate anybody on that. You're definitely free to believe what you want to believe. I believe it's real because I've had personal experiences with people,
right.
Not personally meaning in their space, but I know people. So it's definitely real. But
are you doing
that we're going to get back to a normal. It's going to be like a new normal.
Definitely a new normal, not an old normal, definitely a new normal.
Yeah, it's a new normal, and I want people to kind of understand that you're not going to go back to your normal life. It's going to be a new normal, and you'll have to adjust.
Okay. That's definitely true. I really believe that. Since things are open up a little bit, they give us a little more leeway to come out and about. Are you taking any? Are you being booked right now for any kind of shoots, any print work?
Yeah. So I stopped all my bookings for the last couple months. I am starting to reschedule some of my bookings for like July. Oh, we are in July. I keep forgetting.
Right. First day.
I forgot that quick. For July, but I'm doing very minimal, and also I'm also asking whoever I'm shooting with, is it indoors? Is it outdoors? If it is indoors, what precautions do you have in place? How many people are going to be there? Because I've been one of those people, if it's more than even five people, I'm like, it's inside a closed space. I'm not doing it because I don't know what other people have going on in their houses or where they've been and things like that. So I'm limiting who I'm willing to work with. And I only work with a certain group of people anyway on my team. On any of my photos, it's the same group of people. You'll notice the same photographer, the same makeup artist. I don't stray from that.
Wow. How did you get to that process? I know we only have a few minutes left, but talk about it real quick. How did you get to the process of building your team? Those who are getting out there into the modeling world and those who really want to take it to the next level. How important it is to find the right people to be on your squad and to really build that consistency in that mesh together.
So I talk about this a lot. I've kind of been on rants about this before. A lot of the people that I work with or my team, I have met them through a fashion show. A makeup artist that I've worked with, and I just love the way they did my face. I'm like, you know what? Let me get your information because I could you know, we can network down the line. Photographer, same thing. Fashion show. Hey, I really love the shot you got of me on this particular show. I think we should work together. But the one thing I stress to models all the time when you're building a team, let's say you want to work with a certain photographer or even model or even designer, whatever, always create a mood board, because I don't want to waste my time and I don't want to waste anyone else's time. If we're not on board for the vision board, then we're not shooting. If you're not as passionate about, you know, what I presented to you, then that's fine. I have another group of photographers that I can reach out to. Doesn't mean I won't use you ever again, but I think it's important that you maximize your time when you're at a photo shoot. There's no reason why you should be going through hundreds and hundreds of frames and it's the same pose, or you don't, hey, we're just shooting just to shoot. No, we need to come together for a purpose. If you go through my page, you'll notice there's always, you know, a focal point, or there's something you can understand what's going on. I don't just shoot to shoot. That's not me. I will come if I want you to shoot. If I want to shoot with you, and I've done it with you as well, you know, I'm like, what's your email? Let me send you the vision board. So we know what's going on from makeup, the hair. I even put what kind of positions I think what might be good or might not be good. Get your input. Like, we're not gonna waste each other's time. That's how a photo shoot should be successful.
Right, you on it. Like, listen, you need a handbook for models. Like, listen,
and that's how I built my team. Just, you know, doing different shows and just trusting certain people, and they trust me. They recommend me for stuff all the time. I recommend them for stuff all the time. Like, and we work together. That's how it is.
And so with that, building that team and building that bond and that chemistry, it helps you to, you know, all right, you got your foundation together, so to speak. So now we can really make moves together.
Exactly. And it also helps because they'll come to you with stuff and they're like, or someone might want, you know, hey, I might want Tamara for this project, but they know Tamara don't shoot that kind of project. They'll shut that person down before it even gets to me. And that's what I like, because if someone goes on my page, you should know what I'm about on my page. If you're someone that likes to shoot nude and imply nude, I'm not your model. And that's not anything against someone that does, because I never would say anything negative about somebody that does. That's their lane. That ain't my lane. And if you ever, and I've had photographers come to me and say, hey, I really want to work with you. And I go on their page and I'm like, did you even look at my page and what I do? I don't do stuff like that. And you know, I'll refer them to someone, but I'm not doing it myself. So that's the other thing. You need to, you know, as a model, know your limits.
Know your limits.
Don't be afraid to say no.
What is your particular preference when shooting? Like, your style shooting? Is it lifestyle, high fashion?
So I consider myself more a high fashion. I don't really have like streetwear. That's not like really my thing. And most streetwear designers, I think, realize that about me. They really, even for shows, when I used to do shows, they skip right over me, because they understand, like, I don't really do that type of modeling. Not that I wouldn't, but they kind of see what I do and they're like, okay, she probably, you know, wouldn't shoot for this. But I consider myself more so high fashion. A lot of my projects that I've done recently are my own concepts. Like recently, like on my page, I have something like diamonds and pearls. I had to postpone my diamonds section, but the pearls, that was my whole concept. I styled it. I sent the vision boards. I bought all the wigs. I did everything.
Wow.
Another concept I did was iconic models. Over the years, I replicated their iconic photo shoots. That was my concept that I had for years. And I wanted someone to shoot it. I presented it to my team. They loved it. And it's on my page. So again, you know, when I come to the table, I'm fully prepared. And I don't want to waste people's time.
Well, shout out to you for doing that, for being a professional. Listen, we literally probably had like 59 seconds left. I just want to thank you. Like, this hour went by pretty fast, and it was very good. You know, once again, it's always good energy when we talk and we chop it up. You know, nothing's never changed with that. I really appreciate you. Just real quick, just shout out your information. If those who want to book you, if they just want to pick your brain, if you want to talk to you just about the modeling world, about TikTok life, whatever, just shout out your information real quick so they'll have it.
All right. So again, my Instagram is Slay in Your Lane, SLAY_IN_UR_LANE. It's the same on TikTok, Slay in Your Lane. Check me out there. Also, I do event planning. I don't know how many events are going on now, but I have done a lot in the past. And my page on Instagram for that is Event of the Day. So EVENT OF underscore the day. I had to kind of split it up that way.
Right.
Because the other way it was taken. So event of the day. Also, if you want to email me, my email is Tamara Barber 4711@gmail.com. You can always email me there if you want to work with me. That's where I normally take all my emails. And or you can always inbox me. That